So what happened was that my former sister-in-law was a drug addict. She was a career prostitute.
Okay.
She actually called when she found out she was pregnant and basically said, because she had a child prior taken from her by the state, but that child is in the family and was adopted by the family. So when she called me, she said that she wanted to keep this child. So me and my ex, we basically uprooted our lives to come down to Florida. At the time we were living in Maryland, come down to Florida to be there for her. We tried, but again, it's when you, I don't know if people dealt with drug addicts before, but they are very, very manipulative, and they're hard to keep tabs on. So, this pregnant woman is just ripping, running the streets, still doing whatever. So she ended up giving birth to her daughter prematurely, and because she went on a drug binge the day before. So the day before she gave birth to her daughter was her birthday, and she went into labor the following day because of the amount of drugs she was doing. So the baby was born 3 months premature with drugs in her system. So the state immediately took the child. Okay. And so, the child was committed to the state. My sister-in-law died 3 months later from complications of drug abuse, which DCF completely made up information on the record too. They said that she died from heart failure. I said, well, that's how everyone dies. You don't die until your heart stops. So I don't know, but that's their way.
That's what generalizing. That's how you can do what you do.
Right. And so I spent, after talking to DCF, they basically were calling all the family, asking them if they wanted to take this little girl in, and nobody wanted her because of the sister's relationship with the family. She was, you can imagine, a drug addict. She was stealing. She wasn't trustworthy. It was horrible. But I felt bad because I felt like the child was suffering because of the sins of the mother. So, for me, I was like, well, her brother's in the family. Like, why would y'all not want this child in the family? So after talking to her case manager, I started the process of adoption to keep her in the family, myself and my ex. And so we went through this whole process. No hiccups, except for we had issues with the foster parents because they wanted to keep her, and I thought that was kind of selfish, but, who am I? Because I'm just married into the family. But, I let them deal with that. I just serve my role as the supportive wife and, advocate for this woman's child.
I feel what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when she gets to us, we only had her in our custody for 3 months. She immediately started getting sick, and I was taking her to the doctor over and over again. Doctor was saying, we can't find anything wrong. And at first I thought it was my fault because I had actually got really sick and had to be hospitalized because I couldn't breathe. And so I thought that maybe she had got sick from me. So, I went to the doctor probably 4 times in a month. So she came to us in September. She was in the doctor October and November. And the doctor kept discharging her, saying, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's basically telling me you're a helicopter parent. It's all in your head. Even one doctor even suggested that this little girl was intentionally making herself sick because there was another child in the home, which was my daughter, and that she was used to being the only child. And I was like, come on, really? So she had been to after-hour cares, emergency rooms. And so the final time was the beginning of December, where she was, when I got off work, I went to bed for about 2 hours and was waking up because she was she wasn't non-responsive, but she was really lethargic. Like she was not, she had no energy. She was whining. She wouldn't move, I was freaking out, and so I told my ex, I said, get on your clothes immediately, go take her to the hospital now, And so because it was absolutely freezing and she had been sick, I basically put her on a jumpsuit, just a jogging jacket and some pants, and went, and sent them to the hospital. And so the whole time, again, she had been sick for so long, I didn't know what was wrong, and it's not like I didn't seek help. It was just they weren't giving me anything. But in hindsight, they couldn't give me anything that they didn't have. I didn't have this little girl's medical records. It was, even though I requested them, they never gave them to me. So I had no idea what she had been dealing with prior to coming to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so they get her to the hospital. My ex is at the hospital. I'm at home with our daughter because, you can't take a baby into the emergency room. So he texts me and says, oh, well, they say she had a brain bleed due to a seizure. And at that point, the stories just ballooned from there.
Wow.
Then it was it was blunt force trauma, and then she was smothered, and then they settled on several months later, shaken baby syndrome. And in retrospect, this little girl was almost 2, so I didn't understand how shaken baby syndrome could occur, and even to this point, there's never been anything that suggests how the injury occurred. We still don't. Okay. So it could have been from birth. It could have been in development in the womb. It could have been from anything. There's nothing definitive, but they want so badly to say that someone did something because they failed to give us everything we needed. I could have probably helped her. I could have said, this happened to her. We need a CAT scan. She needs an MRI. Is something wrong? But I couldn't do that because I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. And so that's what they did. And everything became my fault. Literally. Like, I wish I was lying. Everybody's actions became my fault. My rights to my child were terminated, not because of anything that I did. They claimed that the child was abused over time. Because again, they can't pinpoint when it occurred because they don't know what happened. Yeah. So they just made a generalized statement. Yeah, so since they didn't know, they said she was getting abused over time and I didn't protect her. Okay. And then they also said that my ex-husband's cannabis use is my fault because I let him be around children while under the influence, which wasn't true either. I was a very involved parent. Okay. So my rights were terminated because of the knowledge of my ex-husband's cannabis use and the fact that I had people testify that anything. Nobody says I've ever been violent. Okay. Nobody says I've ever done anything. Okay. So now all of a sudden it's your so that's the way they got into your interaction with DCF through, like you say, the child that y'all brought in. Yes. And then from there, lead up to. I opened myself up to them. Okay. Because again, they wouldn't have ever had a reason to come into my life at all. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I opened myself how did they get it? Okay. Trying to do something that it seems like thousands upon thousands of people do regularly. Yeah. It's foster parents who just drop kids off too. Yeah. So I didn't think that it was a big thing. I didn't think it was a problem. Yeah. I passed 3 background checks, 2 home studies. Yeah. Never had a blemish on my background. Was good enough to get a child out of foster care, but now I'm not good enough for my own child. So now, they like you said, they coming, they putting it all on you, like you said. Yeah. So at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, they looking, you have another child at that point. Okay, so because you allowed this to happen and this to happen for this one, you're not fit to have at that point your daughter. They said I failed to protect. Now, I just want to let you understand something with failure to protect. Failure to protect is a felony. Okay? Okay. Failure to protect holds a longer sentence than actual abuse. So basically, to have knowledge that someone is getting beaten almost to death and do nothing, it's worse in the government's eyes than actually abusing a child. Or anybody, for that matter. And they accuse you of that particular term, failure to protect. Yes, but not enough to where they can charge me, which is confusing. Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, like, I was literally just going to leave, like you said, that's a felony in the state of Florida. Yes. And they putting that jargon, that wordage in there, but they didn't have enough to criminally charge you. Yeah. So what's the time frame between when they get involved with the other child, like you said, they say had a stroke or I don't know. I just know she had a brain bleed. How the brain bleed happened, I can't. There's so many stories I cannot tell you. So from that time when they got involved with that and saw that, and to the point that they actually came and took your daughter away from you, like how long we looking? Like? Oh my God. Okay, so she went into the hospital at 8-9 in the morning on December 6th. Okay. My child was removed 3:00 in the morning, December 7th. Oh my God. They interviewed me for 14 hours. They called it an interview. It was actually an interrogation where they recorded me without my knowledge, but I'm not stupid. I have a background in forensics, so I know, I'm not. Yeah, they're gonna exactly. But it was supposed to be a friendly interview so they can figure out what happened and stuff like that. Realistically, it was an interrogation. I had been up because I was working overnight. So I had been up by the time they took my daughter. I was up for, I want to say 32 hours straight. Oh, wow. And they just used false narratives and they tried to make it seem like they were like really trying to do anything. The only thing they were trying to do was build a case